All right, welcome everybody. Thank you for being our DJ this evening, Dan from Olin. Yay, welcome everyone to Pursuing a STEM Education in Massachusetts. My name is Alia Georges and I work at Olin College of Engineering. And we're really excited to have you all here this evening to have the opportunity to collaborate among four really amazing Massachusetts schools that have awesome programs in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So we really love the opportunity we have here where we're all really different schools and we're in different parts of the states. We represent public, private, large, small schools. So you're gonna get a little taste of everything, but something that really unites us is that we're all located here in the Bay State. So if you're thinking about getting an education in Massachusetts, that's something we have in common. And, we all are really passionate about and have amazing offerings in the science, technology, engineering, mathematics. As you may know, Massachusetts and the Boston area are incredible hubs of really exciting technology companies, robotics, lots of research, universities. And I think that you get a real energy to this area of people engaged in learning. And that's really something that we're excited to share with you this evening. So I'm going to ask Dan to navigate us to the next slide, and I will go through a little bit about what we're going to do tonight. All right. So you're going to have the opportunity to hear from all four schools that are here. So we will start with Olin Engineering. I'll be presenting there. Then we will hear from Smith College, University of Massachusetts Lowell, Wentworth Institute of Technology. And then we will take a short time just to share with you some of the questions that we've all been getting about changes to the application process and timeline due to COVID-19. So we'll have a really quick roundtable where we'll share some of those updates with you. And then we will save as much time as possible for some open question and answer, because we really want to, make this tailored to you and the questions that you have for us. And so in terms of how that is going to go during the presentation, if you have questions that are, specific to one of our institutions, you can go ahead and use that Q&A function that you see. That'll be the best place for you to ask questions. If it's a question that is really specific to one of our schools, please indicate what school you want to answer it. And then we have some amazing colleagues behind the scenes here from all four schools that will be working to answer those questions throughout the evening. If it's a question you have for all four schools, just a more general question that you want to hear from everyone, indicate that as well. We will save some of those questions for the Q&A at the end so that we can all answer some of those verbally. And then the last thing I want to mention is that we are recording this session and we will make it available to you later. All right, so without further ado, I will get us started for Olin College of Engineering. So as I said before, my name is Alia Georges. I use she and her pronouns, and I am the Assistant Director of Admission and Financial Aid Counselor here at Olin. So I'm going to share with you just a little bit about what we offer at our school. All right, Dan, can you go to the next slide? Thank you. All right, so since we are here in the Zoom universe and we're not actually able to be on Olin's campus this evening, I always just like to start with an image of what our campus looks like. So I want to welcome you virtually to Olin's campus. And what you're seeing on the screen here is what we call the oval. This is the central green space in between some of the main buildings of our campus. And it's really sort of a central place where students, pass through on their way to classes or the dining hall, hang out in nice weather. So we just wanted to start off with that. And just to go over some basics of Olin College of Engineering. So one thing I'll point out is our location. So we are located in Needham, Massachusetts. And if you're not familiar with Needham, it is in the Boston area. It's a suburb about 14 miles west of the city of Boston. So it is a little bit more of a sort of relaxed suburban area, but still very much in the Boston metro area with access to all of the kind of exciting opportunities and internships and also just sort of sites and attractions that Boston offers. And one thing we love about being in this area, in addition to the proximity to lots of companies for research and internship opportunities, is the opportunity we have to partner with so many amazing colleges and universities. And one of those partnerships that's super important at Olin is what we call the Babson-Olin-Wellesley three-college collaboration. Now, how this works is that this consists of three colleges. You have Olin College of Engineering, you have Babson College, which is a world-renowned entrepreneurship and business school located literally right next door to Olin. So they are our neighbors. And then you also have Wellesley College, which is one of the world's top women's liberal arts colleges, and it's less than 2 miles away from Babson and Olin. So even in our sort of little corner of the Boston area, we have this great, partnership with each other, which allows us to each have our own identity as a college, our own focus. So at Olin, we're really obviously focused on engineering, but we also want to widen the academic and social network for our students. So students at any of the colleges can take classes at all three, as well as participate in clubs and activities at all three schools. So really being able to get a taste of kind of that bigger school feel in addition to the campus that you're on. Now, speaking of size, I want to address that because Olin is probably one of the tiniest colleges you might ever come across. We have just 330 students in our total student body. Now, that's really, really small, right? A lot of you might be thinking that's even smaller than your high schools. It's super different from what we typically think of in terms of going off to college. And we'll talk about the reasons for that in just a moment. But one thing I want to point out is that within that 330 student body, we have a ton of diversity in terms of where our students are coming from. So geographically, they represent 38 US states. They're not all from, here in Massachusetts, 13 different countries. We have about 10% of our students are international students. They also represent a wide variety of ethnic, racial, religious, socioeconomic backgrounds. And 50% of our students identify as women, which, especially for engineering and the STEM fields, which do tend to be a lot more male dominated, that's something that we're super proud of. All right, and then lastly here, I want to point out our mission. And our mission is what drives us, what motivates us in everything we do at Olin. And it's what we call engineering for the good of the world. And what that means is that, yes, we want to give you an excellent technical education in engineering, but we also want to go a step further than that and focus on the applications of those technical skills. How are you going to use them in the real world? And specifically, how can you apply them in a way where you're having a positive impact on the world around you, no matter how you might define that personally? All right, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so we talked about that engineering for good mission. So in terms of how do we do that? How do we carry that out on a daily basis? I think there's three main ways we do that at Olin. So the first is through our small and supportive community. So we mentioned, Olin is teeny tiny. We also focus on only undergraduate students. So our students are working towards their 4-year bachelor's degree in engineering. We do that because we want to cultivate a learning environment and culture where students, professors, and peers know each other on a first name basis. They know each other really well. They are there to support each other as opposed to compete with each other. And they are there to push each other in positive ways to do the best work that they can do. So that means that when you're excited about something you're working on, that professor is there. They know you. They're there to help you get the most out of that. Maybe turn it into another opportunity like an internship. It also means that research opportunities are very accessible. Even for first semester college students, you have the ability to do some very high level research with professors because you're not competing against hundreds or thousands of other students or more experienced graduate students. Now, we also have a collaborative project-based learning curriculum. So this is really important to Olin. And what this means is that the way that our students are learning is not primarily through things like lectures, exams, textbooks, watching videos, things like that. Now, those can be a component of how they learn certain things at Olin, but what's really at the heart of learning at Olin is hands-on applied projects. And the reason for this is because we want our students not just to know a bunch of stuff in theory, but to really understand in a deep way how to apply what they're learning in a variety of real world contexts. So by the time an Olin student graduates, they have a portfolio of 20 or more of these really substantial projects to show for their time here. And most of those are group projects because we know from research that when we do this work in groups, the work that we do is better, especially when those groups are as diverse as possible. All right, and lastly, our approach is a highly multidisciplinary one. So engineering is in our name, right? You will study engineering if you come to Olin, but we don't think that engineering is just math and science. So our approach is really complemented by design, arts, humanities, social sciences, and entrepreneurship. We don't just see these as nice add-ons or like electives. You know, after you're done with your engineering coursework. We really see these as fundamental parts of what make you a better, empathetic, and more connected engineer. So you're going to find those areas a lot more interwoven into all 4 years of the program. All right. And then I'd also like to point out our majors. So we offer 3 majors at Olin: mechanical engineering, electrical and computer engineering, and an engineering degree that comes with a concentration. So for that degree, there's concentrations you can choose like design, computing, which is kind of like Olin's version of computer science, but again, it's much more multidisciplinary. It's a lot more interconnected to these other areas of engineering than a traditional computer science degree would be. There's also a robotics concentration and bioengineering, as well as a self-designed option. So if a student has a particular interest that they don't see reflected in these choices, they could have the opportunity to work with a professor to make their own major. And yes, you know, we want to share the majors we have, but I also want to point out we don't expect students to know which of these majors they want to do when they apply to Olin or when they first get here. They have almost 2 years to really explore different areas, explore those connections, and figure out what direction they want to go. Because Olin is really designed for those students who are interested in the bigger picture and don't just want to be put into one box and one track right away. All right. So lastly, I'll share a little bit about admission and financial aid. So if you decide to apply to Olin, I think our admission process is really reflective of our unique culture and community because we actually have a 2-phase admission process at Olin. The first phase is actually pretty conventional and straightforward. It's what a lot of other colleges will require, where you're going to be completing an application. You can see on the screen, we accept the common application, the coalition application, whichever you prefer, and all the things that come with that. So things like essays that help us get to know you in your own words, in your own voice, recommendations from your teachers, your transcript. We do require physics and calculus. We want to see, you know, what classes you've taken, how you've done in them. We'll talk more about this later, but we are test optional this year. And that's what's gonna go into phase 1, which is very similar to other colleges. But what's more unique to Olin is this second phase, Candidates Weekend. And how that works is after we review the applications in phase 1, we'll invite a group of the students who have applied to come on to phase 2, Candidates Weekend. And that means not every student who applies will be invited, but if they are invited, it is a required phase of the process. Now, in typical years, this means coming to our campus for a physical in-person weekend of activities and interviews. This year, it will be held virtually, but when we do the in-person ones, we do provide financial assistance to help cover some of those travel costs, so it's not a barrier. And the reason this is important is because we want to give you a taste of what Olin is like. We want to sit down with you in an interview setting to get to know you better, but we also want to have you do, you know, maybe an activity where you're working with other people on an open-ended challenge where it's meant to be creative. There's not a right or wrong answer. It's not technical. We're not asking you to build a robot or solve a math problem. We actually don't require any prior engineering experience. But it's more like, you know, here's the unique way that we do things at Olin, and we want to see how that feels for you. And we want you to see it for yourself too, so you can better decide if Olin is the right school for you. And that's going to involve, you know, just meeting our students. Olin is not only a college, but it's a community. You live there for 4 years. You have that college experience of living in the dorms and joining, you know, over 50 clubs and activities, really being a part of the community itself. And we want you to, you know, decide for yourself if that's the community where you feel you're really going to thrive and contribute the most. And then lastly, in terms of financial aid, every single Olin student receives the Olin Tuition Scholarship. This is a merit scholarship that covers half of their tuition for all 4 years. And in addition to that, we also meet 100% of demonstrated financial need for US citizens and permanent residents through the free application for federal student aid, or the FAFSA. So as much as possible, we want Olin to be as affordable and accessible as we possibly can. All right, so I think that's everything I have to share for you, and I'm going to turn it over to Nikki from Smith.
Thanks, Alia. Good evening, everybody. My name is Nikki Chambers. My pronouns are she and her, and I am Associate Director of Admission and Coordinator of Multicultural Recruitment at Smith College. And I'm delighted to be here today to share with you a little bit about Smith in general and what makes Smith unique in terms of STEM opportunities. Would you mind turning to the next slide, Dan? Thank you. So I thought I'd just start off with some general information about Smith College. As a former resident of the Northern New Jersey area, when I told people I was moving to Massachusetts, they all just assumed I was going somewhere outside of Boston. But Smith is a liberal arts college located in Northampton, Massachusetts, which is where my cursor is on the screen. So we are about 3.5 hours north of New York City, or under 3 hours north of New York City, I'm sorry, and about 2.5 hours west of Boston. We are located in an area called the Pioneer Valley, which is in Western Massachusetts. And Smith is a liberal arts college with 3 academic divisions. So we have STEM opportunities, including opportunities in engineering, humanities, and the social sciences. We have about 2,450 undergraduates on our campus, and almost 100% of them live on campus. So Smith is about 150 acres and is really this quintessential liberal arts college with the residential experience. 14% of our students identify as international students. A third of our students identify as domestic students of color, and 18% of our students will be the first members of their family to attain a 4-year degree. So they are first generation college students. Next slide, please. So STEM at Smith is made to be an incredibly unique experience for a couple of different reasons. One, because of our curriculum requirements. We don't have any. Smith has an open curriculum. So our only requirement is that students take a first-year seminar course. That first-year seminar course can be found in a multitude of disciplines. You'll find them in English and history courses, but you'll also find them in the STEM and humanities departments as well. Once students take that first-year seminar course, which is a writing-intensive course, the reason being is because you're going to be writing at a liberal arts college, whether or not you are majoring in biological sciences, chemistry, astronomy, or anything like that. We want our students to be able to have the writing competencies to navigate our curriculum in a successful way. But once students take that first-year seminar course, we have no further requirements of them. We don't have any core curriculum classes or any general education requirements. Students have until the end of their sophomore year to declare their major, and half of the classes you'll take in order to graduate have to be outside of your major. So you can pursue all of these different majors with academic flexibility. So at Smith, where we know that STEM requirements can have a lot of coursework, a lot of requirements of you, students are still required to academically explore and find out what they're interested in. And that end result means that our students are scientists or astronomers and something else. If you are someone who is passionate about STEM and something else, Smith is the perfect place to pursue both of those with fervor. Every student, when they get to campus, is paired with a liberal arts advisor. That individual is going to help you take all of these different courses that Smith is offering, of which we have over 1,000, and help you narrow down how you're going to take 4 to 5 classes every single semester. Every student is paired with an advisor, and an advisor won't have any more than 20 to 25 students on a caseload. So at Smith, we really pride ourselves on the ways in which students are able to build relationships with faculty and have that mentorship experience. At Smith, our student faculty ratio is 9:1, and the average class size is 19. So you really are going to be having those opportunities to build relationships with faculty members, which I think is absolutely critical when you're seeking various opportunities that exist at Smith, whether it's a research opportunity or an opportunity to take a class in subject matter that particularly interests you. This is a place where faculty are going to know you. They're going to know your interests. They're going to know what you're excited about. And when it's time to apply to a master's program or a PhD program, however long it takes you to decide that that's something you want to do, there will always be Smith faculty ready to write you a letter of recommendation and really share how hardworking you are and how smart you are and how capable you are in this next step of your academic life. The STEM majors we offer include astronomy, biochemistry, biological sciences, chemistry, computer science, engineering science, environmental science and policy, geosciences, math and statistics, neuroscience, physics, psychology, and statistics, and data science. We also offer minors in the STEM fields like applied statistics, astrophysics, marine science and policy, and mathematical sciences. And Smith is a women's college, and that really adds to the unique environment that Smith is fostering. Smith is an intellectual community where the word nerdy is a badge of honor. It is a place where students are really proud of the work that they're doing, and it means that fields that are typically male dominated in other institutions are not going to be male dominated at Smith. In fact, at women's colleges, students are twice as likely to pursue a STEM related field rather than students who would attend a co-ed institution. And students that graduate from women's colleges are twice as likely to get a master's degree, a doctorate, a business degree, you name it, and the degrees that they're able to pursue after they graduate. Because Smith is really giving students the confidence to pursue whatever they're passionate about with fervor. Next slide. One of the most common misconceptions about liberal arts colleges is that there aren't any research opportunities for students. And that couldn't be further from the truth at Smith College. At Smith, over 80% of our students are conducting full research or one-on-one lab work with a faculty member before they graduate. And it really isn't an elaborate process to find research opportunities. At Smith, I like to say opportunities really do come to students as soon as they express the interest. So a great place to start if you're looking for a research opportunity is talking to your advisor. Your advisor is going to know which members of their department are focused on the subject matter that you want to know more about. At Smith, it's not uncommon for a student to co-author a paper with a professor. It's not uncommon for a Smith student to go to a conference and present in front of the professor and their entire peer group. And in fact, anecdotally, I know that there are faculty members who bring students to conferences where the professor's peers are saying, wow, your graduate student is really poised and eloquent and mature. And the Smith faculty members, like, they're not undergraduates. They're not graduate students, they're undergraduate students. All of our research opportunities are for undergraduate students, so you're never going to be competing with graduate students for research opportunities at Smith. And in fact, you will get those coveted research opportunities. You are going to be in the trenches with your professor, really engaged in this lab work. I've also included 2 examples of the ways in which students can get involved in research on campus. One is the SURF, the Summer Undergraduate Research Fellowship, and that is a funded summer research program that is on Smith's campus. And students stay on campus for the summer, they're pursuing research with a faculty member, and then they get to present their research in a symposium format. So not only are our students getting experience having hands-on research opportunities, they're learning how to talk about it. And that is so critical in the STEM fields, is not being able to just do research, but talk about your research in a way that is accessible to everyone. The other program we have for students who are historically underrepresented in the STEM fields is our Achieving Excellence in Mathematics, Engineering, and Sciences program. And this program is really providing mentorship and support for students who are historically underrepresented in the STEM fields. And some examples of some of the past research they've done is really incredible. They've done examples of research in chemistry of herbal medicine, water chemistry, and environmental monitoring. So really, they run the gamut in terms of what students are choosing to pursue as they do these really unique research opportunities. Next slide. And finally, just talking briefly about admission and financial aid. I can give you some of the need to know, and I'm happy to answer any other questions. But it is free to apply to Smith, so there is no application fee. You can either use the common application or the coalition application, whichever whichever platform is your preference. We don't have a preference internally. And we practice holistic admission. So we don't have any testing cutoffs or any GPA cutoffs. We review every single application in full. We have been test optional since 2006. So we have a 14-year legacy of utilizing other elements of the applications to make sound decisions on our candidates. So if you do not want your testing to be a factor in your admissions decision, you do not need to submit it. Your application will not be penalized in any way. Interviews are also an optional piece to the application, but it's a wonderful way to kind of bring yourself to life off of the pages of your application. It's one thing to read about a student's passion for biology or chemistry or environmental science, but it really is quite another to see a student really talk about what gets them interested in these disciplines and why they choose to pursue the various projects that they choose to pursue. We have 3 application rounds. Early decision 1, the deadline's November 15th. Early decision 2, the deadline is January 1st. And our regular decision deadline is January 15th. Both rounds of early decision are binding. So if you are admitted to Smith under the early decision plans, we ask you must withdraw your applications from all of the other institutions you applied to. Smith meets 100% of demonstrated need. And we ask that families fill out the FAFSA, the CSS profile, and the Smith application for aid. If you're curious to know what your aid package might look like at Smith, please utilize the net price calculator or My Intuition. The difference between the 2 tools is that the net price calculator will require your tax return information and My Intuition will not. Over 65% of our students are receiving need-based financial assistance, and typical need packages will include grant money, federal loans, and work-study jobs that will come with a consistent paycheck. We also offer merit aid, and it's offered to about 5% of our applicant pool annually. Please know there is nothing extra you need to do to be considered for merit-based aid. You submit your application as is. We don't need any testing or any additional essays or writing supplements. We will review every single application that is sent to us with the lens that this person could be eligible for merit aid. And if they are, we will pass that application along to the proper channels. So that is it for me. And I think I'm turning it over to Michael at UMass Lowell.
Thank you, Nikki. So my name is Michael Belcher. My role is Director of International, Multicultural, and Regional Admissions at UMass Lowell. We are part of the University of Massachusetts system here in the state, which is certainly, the system is certainly known worldwide, and UMass Lowell in particular is ranked in the top 100 for public research universities and top 200 as well for research universities across the nation. And when you consider there are just around 3,500 colleges and universities in this country, we're certainly very, very proud of that. We're also ranked 29th in terms of return on investment amongst public research universities. So very happy to share information with you about UMass Lowell. So we'll move to the next slide there. We are located in the Merrimack River Valley, and we have been here for 125 years. If we can go back to that previous slide, that'd be great. Perfect, thank you. And during that time, 125 years, our students have pursued their purpose beyond the classroom and in some very creative ways. As a research university, we offer a number of outstanding degree programs, 120 bachelor's degree programs, 40 master's degree programs, and 30 doctoral degree programs across many disciplines. So you could, in fact, begin your bachelor's degree program and continue right on through your doctoral programs. And in some examples, as such as exercise science, you can be admitted from your directly out of high school directly into the doctoral program. So many degree options to consider, including a number of accelerated bachelor master's degree options where within the span of 5 years, you can complete both your bachelor's and master's degree program. So that's a tremendous value add for students. We are considered a medium size university with 11,674 undergraduate students. So we are growing tremendously. It's very exciting During the last 10 years, we've opened 16 new buildings. We are renovating and right-sizing spaces, so it's a very exciting time. We're growing in terms of the enrollment at all levels, so it's, again, a very exciting time at UMass Lowell. We're also very diverse. It's about 38% of our students have self-identified as students of color, Asian American, Latino, African American, Native American students. So very diverse as well, and geographically very diverse. We represent all 50 states and 122 different countries. And yet with our growth, we have maintained a 17-to-1 student faculty ratio. So we really prioritize the teaching environment and the learning experience that you're having as a student. So 17-to-1 student faculty ratio, and just around 1,500 students enrolled in the honors college at UMass Lowell. So that is an opportunity to have an even smaller community within the UMass Lowell community with special honors housing, a faculty advisor for the honors college students, and just amazing opportunities to work closely with our faculty. And as I mentioned, we are a top tier national research university noted by US News and World Report. So we'll move on to the next slide there. Perfect. So what does STEM look like at UMass Lowell? We certainly have, we'll return just to that previous slide there. Perfect. So STEM at UMass Lowell, you'll certainly find engineering degree programs, including mechanical engineering, civil engineering, computer engineering, chemical engineering. But then you'll find some areas that are not as common, biomedical engineering or plastics engineering. We are one of very few schools in the nation to offer a bachelor's degree in plastics engineering. The same thing is true of our sciences. You'll find your traditional degree programs, biological sciences, physics, chemistry, and so forth, but programs that you don't find as often, forensic science, for example. Other programs that are not necessarily in the sciences and engineering, but certainly draw on those disciplines, sound recording, which is actually a Bachelor of Music Performance degree. So you would have the option of a concentration in sound recording technology. And we were the first university in the country to offer both, actually offer a master's in sound recording technology. So very unique programs and very competitive programs that are ABET accredited and enjoy the highest levels of accreditation. We are in the process of acquiring accreditation for biomedical engineering. We also have just begun to offer industrial engineering as well. So amazing programs and some unique and certainly rare opportunities in both the engineering and sciences. And then I should also mention some of our minors that really are designed to address some of the current and real world challenges. Robotics, for example, which can be paired with computer science or computer engineering, or what we call the UTeach program. That's a STEM teaching minor for those of you who are considering teaching in the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics fields at the high school level. And business administration, certainly not considered a STEM field perhaps, but I mention that because oftentimes our engineering students will attach a business administration minor, and they find that very helpful. Many of them aspire to leadership positions in their fields, eventually be in their own companies. So having the business administration orientation is very helpful. Also, STEM at UMass Lowell has the hallmark of hands-on learning, whether that's in class through labs, whether it's through service learning projects, such as our nursing students who may be in Ghana, or engineering students who are doing work with water filtration in the country of Peru, for example, or the Difference Makers program, which forms teams across disciplines to address real world problems. So you could have an engineering student or science student, physics student with nursing or business administration, really forming these teams to problem solve. So one of our hallmarks is very clearly hands-on learning and really applying what you're learning in the classroom. In terms of research, there are opportunities across disciplines, across the university, whether it's in the STEM fields or the humanities. The Immersive Scholars Program is another example that really acknowledges and recognizes the research interests of incoming students who are certainly high achieving. So an opportunity to work with faculty uh, and really delve deep into some of those projects and get that experience working with the faculty member that may lead to even more researcher opportunities or certainly great preparation for graduate school. And then experiential learning, as we mentioned just a moment ago. STEM fields at UMass Lowell really pair well with experiential learning. We have students involved in professional co-op programs or internship programs. Some of the companies include Raytheon, GE, Bose, Genzyme, so many others. And our location in Lowell within the Merrimack Valley is a tremendous asset to students, being really in the heart of the technology corridor around 495. So again, we're just about 40 minutes northwest of Boston in that technology corridor. And certainly that is a tremendous asset to our students seeking those sort of application opportunities for their STEM fields. Clinical and practical experiences for the health sciences. Again, more examples of how students are really involved in experiential learning. Okay, we'll move to the next slide and talk just for a moment about admissions and really seeing an average for enrolled students of about a 3.65 with an average SAT of around 1239, and could certainly have the comparable ACT score as well. Minimum criteria, we're looking for a strong B average. Students who are applying to the STEM fields really should have a B average in the math and science courses as well. Certainly looking for very strong math and science background for those fields. We have a few deadlines to keep in mind. Early action round 1, November 5th, early action round 2, January the 5th, and regular decision February the 5th, and certainly releasing decisions just about a month after each of those deadlines. Certainly apply with the common application, our own UMass Lowell application, or the coalition application. And in terms of financial aid, we have just the requirement for the FAFSA form, the free application for federal student aid, with the deadline of March 1. In terms of merit scholarships, similar to my other colleagues, we don't require a separate application for merit scholarships. We evaluate the materials in your admissions application. So your transcripts, your letters of recommendation, your test scores are all considered when determining eligibility for merit scholarship. Similar to, again, some of my colleagues, we are also test optional, and we've been test optional since 2015. You will have the option to submit an additional essay or writing sample, but that is simply an option. It is not required in any way. So our admissions process really does take into account the whole student. We have a very holistic process. We spend a good amount of time in our committee discussions really trying to dig deep with applications and make the best decisions. And we provide a lot of support to our students once they are enrolled, and you become a part of the UMass Lowell family, and it is our mission to see you through to that next stage of your academic career. So with that, I'm going to, I believe, turn it over to our next presenter. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Michael. Hi, everyone. My name is Dan Chadwick, and I'm an admissions counselor here with Wentworth Institute of Technology. So I just want to start off by introducing a little bit about Wentworth, and then going over some general information, and then also talking about what STEM looks like at Wentworth specifically, and how it's unique for our university. So Wentworth was originally founded in the year 1904, and it was a technical school with the purpose of furnishing education in the mechanical arts. You can see the breakdown of our student demographics here, but our total enrollment sits around 4,500 undergraduate students. So here at Wentworth, we have 20 different majors and 24 minors, and they really all focus around STEM-based programs. So we do have 5 different schools here at Wentworth that you can see on this slide, and they're focusing on things like architecture, computer science, engineering, management, and the sciences. So really here at Wentworth, we do focus very strongly on STEM-based programs. As you can see from the beautiful photo of our campus here on the slide, Wentworth stretches across 31 acres at the very hub of Boston. So we are right in the city of Boston. And as you know, Boston is a very diverse, dynamic, and tech-focused city. So here at Wentworth, we really are a campus in the city. We have a quad, we have trees, we have outdoor seating, we have places for our students to hang out on campus. So it's really nice because you're going to a small enclosed school, but it's still right in the city. Our buildings are all adjacent to each other, so there's no need for shuttles around campus. You don't have to take public transportation to get anywhere on campus either. It's all very walkable. Within 10 to 15 minutes, you can be anywhere on campus, a quick walk. So there's so many great locations in Fenway, not only for opportunities within the STEM field, and we're going to talk a little bit about co-ops further down the line, but also so many different fun things to become involved in at Wentworth in the Boston area. Fenway Park is less than a mile away. Prudential Center is right down the street. It's a quick walk down the road. And we're also surrounded by multiple different museums, including the Museum of Fine Arts right across the street. So our campus is sandwiched right in between 2 MBTA T stops, both on the Green Line and the Orange Line. So it makes it really accessible for our students to get right into the city, and it's pretty easy to navigate if you aren't familiar with Boston. So it will take a little bit of time, but you catch on pretty quickly. And another thing to mention about the area that we are in Boston, so in terms of housing, Wentworth does have 4 years of guaranteed housing, which is really great for a university that's right in the city of Boston. So if you wanted, you can live on campus for all 4 years, and you don't have to worry about finding housing in Boston. So it's a really great opportunity for students to be on campus and not have to worry about that. Dan, if you want to go to the next slide. So now I just want to talk a little bit about what STEM looks like at engineering, at Wentworth. So like I said, Wentworth really focuses on engineering, design programs like architecture, industrial design, interior design, computer science, really STEM heavy subjects. So basically just going to tell you what STEM education looks like at Wentworth and how it's unique to our school. So there are 3 big things that make up a STEM education at Wentworth and make it unique to our specific university. So at Wentworth, we have a small class size that focuses on a project-based curriculum. We also have a world-renowned co-op program, which is required for all of our students. And we also have a very amazing return on investment. So here at Wentworth, we provide an authentic real-world platform and not just a simulation. So with our hands-on project-based curriculum and renowned co-ops, you spend your days putting ideas into action. So it's really important for our tech, science, and design-heavy programs and majors that we give you the spaces and technology needed for you to have those experiences. So we have over 24 state-of-the-art laboratories and maker spaces on our campus that all of our students are able to take full advantage of. So like I mentioned, we have around 4,500 undergraduate students, so we're about a small to mid-sized university. So with that, we do have pretty small class sizes, and that really results in a supportive, collaborative, and close-knit community that just promotes strong bonds that among students and among faculty that will last a lifetime. So at Wentworth, we do have an average class size of 19 students, and we have an 18-to-1 student to faculty ratio. So our students across any of our majors are really able to make strong connections with not only their peers, but with their faculty members that they're able to use throughout their entire time at Wentworth and outside of Wentworth. And in the classroom, we really do try to focus on that hands-on learning model, where you're not just sitting in a classroom of 100 different students taking notes for all 4 years. You're actually in small classrooms, you're working together with your peers, you're working individually on all these project-based learning models in the classroom, and really just being able to take that experience in the classroom and use it in the real world. So now I'm going to talk about our world-renowned co-op program. Because of our co-op program, we've created a center of learning that connects you to the professional world on your first day at Wentworth and throughout your entire time here. So every student is required to complete 2 semesters of a co-op. And basically, what a co-op is, it's going to be similar to an internship, except a co-op is full-time, and at Wentworth, you are required to be paid for your co-op position. So basically, like I said, that co-op is a full-time internship, and you're doing 2 semesters of a co-op. Almost all majors complete these in their junior and senior year, with the exception of a couple like architecture, who will do their sophomore and junior year. So it's also really great because these co-ops can be done anywhere. So a lot of our students are choosing to stay right in Boston, and during that semester, you actually are guaranteed housing for that semester, and you can live on campus. But some also go back to their home states or your hometown, and you can choose to do a co-op there, save some money on housing, or you can choose to explore an entire new state or city and do a co-op in a completely new area. So here at Wentworth, we do have a dedicated team of co-op advisors who walk our students through that process and connect them to resources like resume reviews, on-campus interviews, and co-op fairs, just to name a few. So our graduates leave with almost a full year of full-time working experience through our co-op program and are finding jobs fairly easy because of the skill sets they gained while on co-op. 97% of our students accepted a job or enrolled in a graduate degree program within 6 months after graduated, which is a really awesome statistic for our students and just really shows our return on investment. And our median starting salary for our students is around $64,000. Dan, if you wanted to go to the next slide, appreciate that. Oh, there we go. So here at Wentworth, we operate on a rolling admission schedule. And basically what that means is as applications are submitted, we review them when they're completed and then send decisions back out. On average, this process takes around 3 to 5 weeks from the date all required application materials are submitted. So with that in mind, we do have 2 pretty important deadlines. We have a priority deadline of December 1st, and this deadline is important because we grant a $1,000 early action scholarship to any student that submits an application before that December 1st deadline. And it's nice because you don't have to have your application completed by then. You just have to have that application submitted to us, and you can work on your other requirements after that December 1st deadline. And that scholarship is renewable for all 4 years. Then we have our regular decision deadline of February 15th. And that's pretty important because if you were to apply on or before February 15th, we would be able to guarantee you a spot on your program. And that's, of course, if you're accepted into that program. After February 15th, it's possible that some of our programs will reach acceptance capacity, and we may have to close some of our majors to applications. And with that said, we actually do require students to apply with the major when they're applying to Wentworth. So that's another important thing to keep in mind. So now just in terms of application requirements, we're just gonna go over those quickly, and we have 4 big things that we will need. So we use the Common App, which I think is the most convenient if you're applying to multiple different schools. But first off, we'll obviously need that application. The next thing we need is your official high school transcript. So basically just to see your GPA, the different classes you've taken and your different grades. We also require one letter of recommendation, and that's the minimum, and it has to be from either a teacher or a guidance counselor. We'll require that personal statement, which is included in the common application. We'll also look at your extracurricular activities as well. And to note that Wentworth has been test optional for the past 2 years. So we don't require you to submit SAT or ACT scores. Another thing to mention just about merit scholarships and financial aid is that 100% of our students receive a merit-based scholarship, and that's going to be based solely upon your academic performance. And we also have financial aid available through the FAFSA. So if you complete that and send that to Wentworth, you can receive either grants, loans, or federal work study through that. And that's kind of just the general gist of the 2 different types of aid that we award. And just another thing to mention is that math through pre-calculus is required for students who are applying to applied mathematics, applied sciences, computer science, cybersecurity, and any engineering program. So if you don't have pre-calculus, we do also offer a summer course for pre-calculus, which is pass-fail, and that's free to students who end up enrolling at Wentworth. But if you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out at the end of the presentation, and I'd be more than happy to answer those for you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much to my co-presenters, Dan, Michael, and Nikki. You can see, in addition to everyone's beautiful faces here, our emails. So, this was really meant to be kind of a tasting plate of some different, colleges and universities in Massachusetts that offer amazing STEM programs. So it was really just sort of the surface here. And we do encourage you to check out our websites, all of these amazing resources that our colleagues have been putting into the chat for you. Follow us on social media and email us if you have questions for us, so you can go more deeply into learning about our schools. Now, in our last few minutes, what we're going to do is we're going to very briefly share any changes or updates for this application cycle due to COVID-19. So some of us may have these, some of us may not. So in the interest of time, I'll just say, just stick to if there's something that is different this year due to COVID-19. And we'll go in the same order as before. So for Olin, the major changes this year are that we are for test optional for the first time. So in typical years, we require SAT or ACT scores. This year, submitting any test scores is completely optional. If you submit it, we will review it as part of your application. If you do not, for any reason, and you do not have to provide a reason, it will not be factored in at all. We will not think twice about it. So it truly is optional. Optional means optional. The other major change for Olin is that our Candidates Weekend program that I mentioned will be held virtually. More details will come about that later. And then, not to speak too much on behalf of my colleagues, but knowing the incredible institutions in this room, one thing I want to point out is that I think the name of the game is really patience and understanding this year, that we know that, in your junior year, if you're applying this year, you might have had pass-fail courses or changes due to your education, clubs and activities that may have been suspended. We are going to be understanding of that. We know that everyone is going through that. So provide information if you feel it is important to share things with us about how the pandemic has affected you, but that's only if you feel you want or need to, and we will be understanding. So I'll pass that on to Smith if there's any updates on their end.
Thanks, Alia. I also want to emphasize that at Smith, we are prepared to be patient and flexible with students. I want to encourage students who have had any interruptions to their learning or any inconsistencies with their learning to use the COVID section on the Common App or the Coalition application to flesh those changes out for us. And we know that counselors will have a similar section in their portions of their supplemental materials. So we are prepared to see those explanations from school counselors as well. We've been test optional for 14 years, but this year we are test optional for international citizens as well. And that is a new development. And while the pandemic has made for very unprecedented challenges in admission, I want to emphasize that what Smith is looking for in its students has not changed. We're looking for curious students who love to learn and who want to contribute to our community. And now I'll pass it to
Thank you, Nikki. I would echo what has been said in terms of flexibility and patience and understanding. We are really trying to partner with the applicant through the application process. We know we understand the challenges. There may be schools with pass-fail grades, could be students who can't access an SAT or ACT exam. So just a reminder that we are test optional. We are working with school counselors to understand individual situations as well as we can, and remaining flexible. So very, very similar to my colleagues.
Yeah, just to kind of echo those sentiments, we're really trying to work as much as we can with our students and with the guidance offices at your school in order to be as flexible as we can with getting all those requirements for your application. Like I mentioned, Wentworth has been test optional for the past 2 years, so you don't have to worry about submitting those as well. And we're really lenient with trying to get those requirements from you. We understand that this is a really tough time. So we're going to work with you as much as we can. And also another thing to know is that Wentworth does operate on a rolling admissions basis. So we don't really have those really set deadlines. If you didn't get everything in by a certain date, there's still plenty of availability to get that in after, whether it's December 1st or February 15th. So really just trying to be adaptive with our students and be able to help them out in as much as we can. And I think that's kind of the same for all of my colleagues here on this call. It's just really trying to help our students in this application process.
Great. Thank you, everyone, so much for those updates. And wow, this is amazing timing because it looks like we were actually able to answer all of the questions in the Q&A. So thank you so much to all of our colleagues behind the scenes helping with that. And thank you to Nikki, Michael, and Dan for presenting this evening with me. And remember, this does not have to be the end of the conversation. So you have our emails. If there was any question that we missed, we will have a transcript of this. So we will be able to reach out to you after if you did ask a question we didn't get to, and we will be sending you the recording of the presentation later this week. So with that said, we hope everyone has a great evening and stay safe and, keep exploring colleges.